the Carson City Library Board of Trustees meeting will call to order. Here's the gavel. Okay. Shall we do roll, please?
Chairperson Knight,
Present.
Vice Chair Lucas,
Present.
Trustee Markle,
Present.
Trustee Nichols,
Present.
Trustee Olivas.
Absent. Excused.
A quorum is present.
Thank you.
Really loud today.
Is it? Oh. Oh, goodness. All right, let's move on to public comment. Any member of the public who would like to address the Board of Library Trustees on any topic that is relevant may come forward at this time to do so. And we just lost our screens. I don't see anyone.
Put you in a different seat. For real, yes. You know, that's an excellent point. I need to stop sitting here. Because this happens like every time.
Okay, it's back.
Hey, we're back. Okay. I know. Well, we got to go to the phones. Is there anybody on the phone?
There are no callers on the line.
Thank you. All right, and seeing none in the room, we'll move on to our agenda item 3. And this is approval of minutes from our previous meeting. Did everyone get a chance to look at the draft? Do we have any edits we'd like to offer? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the October 27th meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Nichols. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And minutes are approved. Let's move on to agenda item 4, informational only. This is our Director Administrative Reports, and I'll turn it over to you, Director Holt.
So you've probably noticed that these are just our regular budget breakdowns. Does anyone have any questions about this first one, which is our general fund?
Trustee Lucas, for the record, I did notice that we're getting pretty close to our software maintenance cost budget. And then I thought maybe that's because we have annual subscriptions and we've already paid for them, perhaps?
That's right.
Or, okay.
Yeah, that's our cooperative bill. And then it's the cost of maintenance for our Envisionware products, which is our self-checkouts, all of that software, basically all of our automation. And then also the automatic materials handler. There is a fairly, that's our sorter, the big robot. And so we saw a little bit of a bump in, I'm so sorry, I can't remember if it's the AMH or if it was the checkouts. But one of the items that we purchased with the city ARPA funds during COVID, we got a discount on the maintenance fees for 2021. And so we saw the full price this year. And so we are looking close. I mean, we are getting, we've used a bit of that. We're getting close on that budget. But the good news is if we get much closer, I'll have to just do a budget transfer. But I think we will see ourselves probably when I build the budget. Well, I will when I build the budget. Coming into this next budget build, I will expand that budget. So to make sure that we're not getting close every time, and that's the easiest way to do it. Otherwise, I'll be having to do a journal entry every year. So yeah, that's what's up, is that we are seeing that discount. It wasn't a huge amount, but enough to make a difference.
Mm.
Have any other questions from the board? Thank you, Trustee Vice Chair Lucas. Director Holt.
Any questions on the gift fund?
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me again. Gift fund is friends money or
Gift
not
fund is a
friends money?
combination of donations, all donations, and then friends contributions.
Okay.
So, any we rarely get memorials anymore. And those do go into gift fund, but they have we manage them separately from this general stuff. You would see it on here as part of our overall balance. And you'll see that the gift fund has still got a really small balance or budget. And that's because how do I best put this? We begin where we ended. So that's how they build the budget, is for the gift fund, is they go, okay, this is how much you spent last year, so that's going to be where you start. And then at augmentations, which happen, we've talked about these before, that's when I submit the necessary paperwork to have access to all of our fund. So right now, I actually just submitted that last week, and I have to adjust it, which I'll get to that later, why I needed to adjust it even further. And we have approximately, and you're not going to see this reflected on paper for a while, because they have to get through every department's augmentations, I think we have about 94,000 and some change, because we got a substantial bequest. We had that $60,000 bequest this year. So, and then, and as you can see, this budget, based on where we ended up last year, we were very fiscally conservative with gift fund, and as we should be. And so that's why we had such a low amount. And I could have asked at the budget build for a larger starting amount, but
But that's basically authority, right? That's not
Yeah.
real money, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I
okay.
didn't really feel like we needed it,
Yeah.
and we didn't. We've spent, we really just needed it summer learning, and that always gets fixed in time because of the timing of the augmentations. So,
Great.
and then of course the grant count
Yeah.
looks crazy still, but that's also going to get fixed during augmentations.
I think you mentioned that last time as well.
Yeah, it's always going to look a little strange because those grant funds, if you don't have any grant going into the budget build, if you don't have any grant money, then you're going to be at zero when you start. And then in augmentations is when you say, okay, we've had this much revenue, we've received this much revenue for grants, and it all gets worked out at that point. So we have money sitting out there in grant revenue, but it doesn't get added and reflect in our documentation here until those augmentations are completed. And then my director's report.
Your director report. Moving on. Yeah.
Okay, so
Let's do it.
we did conduct interviews for a remaining library clerk position. We have made an offer, and it has been accepted. We're going to do a second round of clerk interviews. We sort of switched gears a little bit and decided, instead of hiring a shelver and a clerk, that we would hire 2 clerks. Reason for that is because the nature of the clerk position is that they learn and are trained on the information desks, but they also do shelving, and so their job sort of encompasses the tasks of the shelver. And with the choice to hire a shelver versus a library clerk, in my opinion, really comes down to budget. but because of the recent change in the minimum wage that we know is coming down the pike, those two positions will be making the same amount. So we thought, why not? And I'm not sure where the city's going to go with, making changes to other salaries to be commensurate with that change in minimum wage. But so this was strategy to try and get, for lack of a better phrase, more bang for our buck. And so we're going to do a second round of clerk interviews. But the person that we've extended the offer to is awesome, and she's super excited. So it should be, I think it'll be a really good fit. And she's not looking for anything full-time, so I think it'll be really advantageous to us. And instead of, as I've stated before, in the past, we would hire these part-time positions and sort of be like, well, when can you work? When works with your schedule? And this what we've adopted a new approach, which is we have these dates that we need coverage, and so we need someone who can work those dates. And we were very lucky that all of our candidates at this last round were like, I can work any hours you need. So that's been really helpful to not have to be like, well, you can't work the hours. So, and then we're still looking, I haven't posted for the senior library assistant position yet, simply because we've got these other positions we need to fill. And the programming and outreach coordinator, she's got a little bit more, she's about 90 days in now. And so this is really a position that's going to work beside her. And so I feel like she's getting to the point where she can, she'll have a more educated perspective on what the needs are for that particular position. And so our plan is, once we figured out exactly what we think some of these tasks are going to be, we can communicate to the applicants in our supplemental questions. So, you have the job description, the city job description. It's pretty vague and pretty general. And then in the supplemental questions, you can say, what's your experience doing this? And that sort of communicates what it is that your real expectation is for this particular position. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we're working on that.
Good.
And then, of course, I have 3 unclassified positions here, but it's actually, well, yes, there is 3 because I keep forgetting I have to replace the deputy. So I know that is going to be a tough fill, and it's going to take time. So but I do have plans, hopefully before the end of the year is my goal, to have the other 2 unclassified positions filled.
The other 2 are the tech person and the workforce person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I really want to get the tech person hired first, because then that person can help me get all the technology set up for the new people.
Yay.
And so with our programming, we have the Winter Reading Challenge coming up.
Oh, before you
And-
move on to programming, though,
okay.
do we have any questions on staffing?
Oh, sorry. No.
Is there anything? Okay, did you have tentative timelines on any of that? Are you re-recruiting for the?
We re-recruited for the workforce
Unclassified,
development job,
okay.
and that closed about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
HR just reached out to me, very kindly said, "What are you doing?"
Got
Chop.
applications? Yeah.
And so the time has come.
Okay.
And I do have, for the technology coordinator, I have a rubric that I've created for the questions. And because part of the thing that's been difficult as well is that these positions are brand new.
Mhm.
And so I've just finally reached the conclusion that whomever takes this position, I'll have to be very clear with them that there's a certain amount of ambiguity that's going to be associated with them. And just be as clear as I can about that, because some people really have a challenge with ambiguity, and these jobs particularly, they're new. So the advantage, I think, is that whomever is in the positions can kind of like help define the position, but that's also can be a disadvantage for the person in the position. So But I've reached a point where I really am, my goal is to have the technology coordinator hired by the end of December, and then the workforce development and coordinator position, hopefully hired by the end of December, but if not, at least a candidate pool narrowed down. And then once those two folks are hired, because I really want to get the technology coordinator hired as soon as possible so that they have some time to get their sea legs before the new workforce and development person comes on, workforce development and social services comes on. And then that will give me some breathing room to start the process for a new deputy.
So you've
And
prioritized tech over workforce, then deputy last. Because you feel
Yes,
you
because-
can cover the deputy duties
well, I have been covering the
better
deputy
than
duties.
the others.
Yeah,
Okay. Yep.
exactly. And then
Makes sense.
to be very honest with you, I want to get these other positions a little bit. The reason the technology takes precedence is because I know that our technology is a Gordian knot, and maybe I suspect a little bit of a house of cards. So I really want that to get sort of. I need help figuring out exactly is it as bad as I think it is, or is it much less intimidating than it looks like to me? I mean, literally looks like to me. So, and then that person can help me get all of this necessary stuff set up for the workforce development coordinator so that I have more time to work with that person directly and not have to worry so much about the technology. Because right now it's I'm having to troubleshoot a lot, and that can be, this is time consuming when you're not an IT person. So if that makes sense.
Yep.
And then with the deputy position, I also, it's not just that I'm able to cover those duties myself, it's that I'm going to have to train that person. And so I'll need time to do that too. So that's also why that's the last position that I have on my list of hires.
You've advertised for a technology person before.
mhm.
So what's been the hang up? Is it because you don't get experienced applicants, or because people have turned down the job, or?
No, we haven't even interviewed for it because we just haven't had time. So
Okay.
this was some of the holdup was that these positions got over the finish line as of July 1. And then, of course, timing-wise, we were in this, we there at that exact point entered into this transitional phase. And so I was also, as the interim, that was a very not clear, should I be the one making these long-term decisions, and then also just having the time to do it, and having the time to really take, because we didn't include supplemental questions in those job descriptions or in those postings. And so really now being faced with, or I was faced with, coming up with supplemental questions questions to ask in the interview that will really carve out for whomever is interviewing what it is that we need them to do. So that took time as well.
Sure.
So, but now we're at a point, that it has to be done.
Yeah, well, it's kind of tricky. I mean, you don't really want someone who's brand new.
Right.
because to move into a position that hasn't been filled before.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of tricky, and it's a lot of responsibility for someone new. So it's must be kind of tricky to get
Yeah.
someone who is experienced. But I don't imagine that the library is the highest paying IT job in the city.
I'm not sure. I will say that we are, I would say, competitive.
Oh, that's good.
But also, it's the library's technology needs are a rare animal.
Oh, I agree.
Because they will also need to learn the language of libraries.
Mhm.
And so that will be part of the challenge as well. And I also think that this is another person, particularly that will have to be comfortable with ambiguity because there's going to be a lot of, and I just base this on experience and feedback from others who are not in libraries. When you start to discuss with them the amount of technology and the interface that has to happen for our equipment to work properly, they just simply have no idea of the the volume of that and the depth involved. So I need a little bit of a unicorn, um, but I do think we have some applicants that are. So
I think you run a little bit of a risk the longer it goes, and I'm glad to hear that you're prioritizing now because it really is time. The longer these vacancies go, the more of you're losing momentum culturally, and then you also get staff who are just used to doing workaround and coverage.
exactly,
And when that's
yeah,
new normal, maybe we
Yeah.
don't want that as a new normal because it makes it that much more difficult to onboard somebody. So
yeah. And I
Just-
think I definitely got a pass from everyone, you guys, the city, the staff, because of my just us being in transition and us being on a little bit of a hiatus. And it's, now I'm a couple months in. So, sort of chop, chop. It's time to,
Yep.
it's time to start putting one foot in front of the other here.
Okay.
So, yep.
Okay, anything else on staffing? Thank you for that. Let's back to programming.
Okay, so the Winter Reading Challenge is coming down the pike. It's going to start on the 17th, which is actually the first day, I believe, of the school district's winter break. So this is going to be an interesting year for the Winter Reading Challenge because first off, we're having it during the break, which in the past we've done it started it halfway through the break and went a little bit further into January, and then we were closed. The Digitorium was closed all through winter or through the winter break, and then we also reduced our programming during the month of December. So we're not doing any of that. We're continuing on with our programming and actually adding programs for the holiday season. And so the Winter Reading Challenge, it's half the length of time as the Summer Learning Challenge. It also uses Beanstack. It will have prizes. It's just we definitely want it to be more of a robust program than we've been able to do in the past. We do really want it to, for lack of a better phrase, be kind of like Summer Learning light in terms of reading. And we've deliberately chose to have it the duration of the break because the purpose of it is to be fill in for a learning gap and being on hiatus. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be we've got a plan for how we're going to look at the data afterwards and kind of hot wash it and see where we had greater success, didn't, et cetera. But the staff's really excited for it, and we're just kind of full steam ahead. And we'll see. We're definitely ramping up the prizes and just kind of going to see where that leads us, and if that experiment, because it's really an experiment, because it's it sort of looks the same on the surface, but our approach to it and all of that is we definitely want it to be a really robust program. And in the past, it's just kind of seemed like, oh yeah, the Winter Reading Challenge, it's kind of a thing, but we want it to be like, yes, this is summer learning, just not as long. And then Homestead Holidays. We did this last year. It's at I always want to say Silver Saddle, but I don't think it is. I think it's is it Saddleback Ranch?
No, Silver
Silver
Saddle.
Saddle. Okay.
You had it right.
So we did this last year. I think last year was the kickoff of it, and it's so much fun. It's Chair Knight came and read, and it was sort of, I felt a little bit like a Who in Whoville. It's very Christmas trees everywhere. It's very fun.
Very cold.
It's very cold. But this year we're going to be better prepared because last year we were in a shelter, but this year we're going to be in an easy up pop-up tent. but we can have heaters, so we're going to have a little kerosene heater, and we're going to hand out books. We've reached out to the friends for to see if they have any books to donate, because that's what we did last year. We gave out books, and people loved it. And then we also performed story times. They did ask us to do story times between 6:30 and 7 every night. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, week after next, or this next week. Yes. So we're going to, myself and Haley Wilson, our story time programmer, are going to do at least one night and we'll probably do a bilingual like we did last year. And so we're sort of where we're slotted between the band playing and taking a break. So we're on there. We're on the band's break. So if anyone wants to read, that would be awesome. 6:30 Friday or Saturday, because we've got Sunday covered. So please consider it. It's really fun. It is super cold, but they do have adult beverages. Hot adult. They have hot toddies.
And yeah, I think there's like someone selling fried food last
Oh
time,
yeah.
too.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. They
So
they
it's
definitely
so
have some
fun.
carnival-like food there.
Yeah.
So funnel cake-ish
What's
items.
being read? What's the
You're
books?
kind of free choice, right?
I'm not sure what we
I
haven't
think I
chose our
read,
books
like,
yet.
Some kind of Pete the Cat thing, or
You read
some-
Pete the Cat, yeah.
that's- yeah.
And
so
we
it's-
read
you guys did
about-
it bilingual.
Yeah, we read about playing in the snow with friends,
Yeah.
and it was super fun.
So,
So we'll
I can shoot for Friday if someone
Okay.
wants to do Saturday.
I can't do
6:30.
Saturday. I can't.
You can't.
No.
Okay. You can do Saturday. All right. Trustee Lucas. That's a
Well,
good
it's
time.
it's not everybody's cup of
Just you
tea
in
to
front of a
stand up in front of a
microphone.
huge crowd of people and read. So
I don't remember there being much of a crowd,
No.
but also it's dark.
that's
dark.
true. It is
So you
dark.
don't actually see
It's
that.
kind of like if you've ever.
Oh, well,
No,
yeah,
it sort of feels like if you've ever been if you've ever done theater,
uh-huh.
you can't see the crowd.
Yeah,
So
you
you're
can't
under
see,
a
yeah.
light, but they
Yeah.
can see you, but you can't see them. So yes, if
Yeah,
you
it
could,
might keep you
if you could
warm.
speak like a thespian, please, ma'am,
Yeah.
that would be lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll follow
that
up
would
with
be
you to
great if you
confirm,
could.
but yeah.
I'll confirm that with you guys before we leave tonight, because the programming and outreach coordinator's like, so are some board members going to be able to read? And I said, well,
Yeah.
I will find out. I'm sure that that there will be some who will be happy to help. And then moving on.
Oh, anything else on programming?
Oh, I'm still there.
You're
Oh no,
still
wait,
there?
I'm in the digitorium now. Sorry.
Which is programming adjacent. Makes sense as that's next.
Yeah.
All right. Digitorium.
Okay, so sadly, the Digitorium recently experienced theft of 9 computers.
Ooh. Ouch.
Yeah, so in the past, the Digitorium had been open from 3 to 6 in the afternoons, because the kids get out of school at 2:30, and there was always a staff member or an intern that we paid to sit in there with the students or the teens. And so instead of having someone in there, because the attendance was pretty low, if at all, we decided, okay, we're going to not have anyone in there through the entire duration. We're just going to have an adult or staff member swing through every half hour. And so, we opened it in the beginning of September, the first week in September, Labor Day, first Wednesday after Labor Day. And we had a really good, run. We had 6 weeks of no issue. And then we didn't. So we had a charging cart in the Digitorium, and it had a bunch of MacBook Pros in it. Now, we deliberately left that in there because we didn't really have anywhere else to take them. And also, they're 10 years old. So they are valueless to us at this point, and they can't be updated to meet our needs. So we were really faced with this equipment that would have to be recycled. But we did, so we weren't worried, I guess is what, it wasn't really deliberate, that's the wrong word, but we weren't as concerned about that equipment. Everything else that was of value is stored somewhere else locked. And this cabinet was also locked, I should add. And it was locked. There's cabinets in a little cubby in the back that are also locked. And so, and not only was the cabinet locked, but it was blocked and obscured from sight because it had a podium, a larger size podium that looks almost like a information desk in front of it, and then a cart, a TV cart with a huge TV on it. And so that was done deliberately as well, and the back place where the cupboards were was also blocked off. So I'm trying to think, the Wednesday following Halloween, we went into the Digitorium, our programming librarian, went into the Storytime librarian, went in to get ready for her story time, and it looked like blood splatter all over one side of the Digitorium, all over a computer, all over the carpet, turned out on the ceiling tile, completely drenched and ruined a ceiling tile, as we were trying to clean up and figure out what had happened, we found a packet of spaghetti sauce that looks like I'd never seen it before. They come in like a container like Go-Gurt. And one of the kids that was in the Digitorium had stood on the podium or the stage and threw it, because we have video footage, as hard as they could. And so, I mean, it was literally like a crime scene. It was everywhere. So that happened. And then the following Thursday, I got a phone call from the Carson City High School, and the theft was revealed at that point. We went and watched video footage, and it's an ongoing investigation. I'm not sure I can say much more than that. You know?
I don't know how much real detail we need. You've made us aware.
So
and that's
that was very
sufficient.
disappointing.
Yeah.
So the next day we immediately started, that Friday we started banning it.
So the
staffing it.
computers that were lost were the ones that were useless?
To us.
Okay.
However, when as the school resource officer explained to me, how in actions such as this, the way that those items are valued is if you had to replace them new. And so if we had to replace this equipment new, it would be significant. And it was also some camcorders. And it was really disappointing, but this was orchestrated. It was very much orchestrated. You can see in the video
So
footage.
it was more than one individual?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's layered, and they figured out how to break into things. So, I mean, as much as I'm glad that we tried, and now we know. And
Did they take him out the back, that door that goes to the hallway?
yeah. And it was, I mean, very, I have to say, well orchestrated,
Deliberate.
Yeah, it was very deliberate, and it was not, the way that it went down, it took place over a series of days.
Yeah,
So it
like
was
regular
not
users
on a
kinda-
whim, hey,
Yeah.
let's do this today, and not, this was not done without, it was premeditated, I guess, for lack of a better word.
And they discovered like things at the high school that led them to,
Yeah, they discovered them
Question.
and could tell from the labels that they were
Oh,
more.
here's some library stuff sitting at the school.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is a very layered situation that we just happen to be a part of, a much bigger thing. But yeah, this was definitely orchestrated. And, you know,
So you're
I'm not sure how much you can anticipate that level of orchestration. But
still your go forward remedy is
We're
going back to
staffing
how
it.
it was. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And we're going to analyze numbers and totals and attendance and see, what hours are. We're just going to keep an eye on the hours and see how long we need. Are we getting any action at this time or and that kind of thing. And then we're moving forward with our reboot, and so you see the pictures there. If you've ever been in the Digi and saw that really bright green room, it was originally a green screen before it's 10 plus years old, and this was a journey of 1,000 miles to get that green covered.
Oh, gosh.
We thought it would take one coat of kills. No, 4.
Wow.
And so we're still at that paint stage, but we've got a whole vision. We're in a prototyping, so this is part of what the point of the grant was for this consultant to help us prototype ideas. And so we've got a bunch of different things that we're going to do, and to see what how it gets the most interest. The really cool thing is we've got kids coming in there who are like, "Hey, what if you do this?" And we had one kid who's an artist who came in and drew out what they thought this this nook should look like, which was really cool because it was it was very much aligned with what our vision was too. So we were like, hey, we're dialed in, but also allows us the opportunity to let those kids' vision become a reality. So we'll see how it goes.
And as far as the green screen, I mean, I don't think anybody was using it anytime recently, but if a need were present, I think they would just make backdrops now. Like, is that something
Yeah, I mean,
we
you
could
can
relocate?
literally just buy a pop-up.
Right.
Yeah.
So would that be something that maybe in the future you'd have available as a resource?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Which is why we made the decision to cover this green screen. I mean, this was it had its time in the sun, and it was definitely very forward at that time. And also we are we're really seriously trying to figure out the seating in the Digi. And we're very likely going to get rid of those. Well, we are going to get rid of the benches that are in there. They're also 10 years old, or more than, and they're broken. Some of them are really pretty dangerous because the seats coming off. And facilities has been great. They said that we'll probably open it up to the city personnel and see if anybody wants them, any other department wants them, and if not, then facilities was like, we will be more than happy to take those to the trash for you. So. They we really did think of all these different ways we could refurb them, but at the end of the day, half of them are they're just coming apart because they're old, and they were very cool though. That was very much dialed in on trend at the time that that reboot was done.
And so is that the input you're mentioning from teen users, that's your teen library council, or is that just patrons in
it's
general?
Team Library Council. It's and kids that aren't on the Teen Library Council coming in and using the Digi.
Good.
So, and then we've also created a survey with the consultant that the Carson High School librarian dispensed throughout the entire district.
Nice.
So we're still waiting on results from that. And then the State Collection Development Grant is arrived. We've received the revenue, so we're going to start spending on that. Baker and Taylor, I don't know if I talked about this last time. I think I did, about the Baker and Taylor vendor having a ransomware, and it really basically stalling all of our receivables. Yeah, they had a ransomware, and they were their entire website was down. We couldn't do anything for 2 weeks, and then they didn't pay the ransom, and they had another crash for 2 or 3 days last week. But so far, they've got it worked out. But we got 17 boxes of books in one day.
Does that expose any of our
No. No,
assets, our business transactions with them, anything like that? Okay.
no. We have all of that safeguarded through our firewall. So, and truthfully, we do very little electronic stuff with them. It's electronic data.
And how we pay them.
Yeah.
all
Well,
that's-
actually, we don't pay them that in that way. We use our accounting system in the city to pay them, or we pay them via P card, which is not done in that platform. We go to their website and do that. So
Okay.
it doesn't affect our stuff. And then the Friends approved all of our requests. So you'll see that the digital collections expansion, I asked them to come close to meeting what we've received in grant money through the state and through LSTA funds for digital collections expansion, and they did that. And then the Baker and Taylor lease materials, they've historically paid for that. The Capital City Reads program, we had incredible success this year, so we based our numbers and our data on, we had a 400% increase in use and attendance and readers. And this year is Mark Twain themed. We're reading Roughing It to align with the Mark Twain days.
Nice.
And then it's the summer reading program. So the summer reading program, we came in a couple of $1,000s under that amount, but that's because we were able to use a lot of materials we already had on hand, and we've sort of exhausted those. So, and they've already brought us the check. So you'll see that in our gift fund numbers eventually. The strategic plan. So then some things that are in progress, unless you have, does anybody have any questions about the grants? Okay. And then things that are in progress is the strategic plan update is completed, and Dr. Steinman is more than happy to present the updates to you all if you would like him to.
I'd like
So-
to hear back from him. Does anyone else want to? All right. Is he going to bring his white pad? No,
I don't know if he'll go
that was
that far
part of the
into it.
planning.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
He's just doing the refresh.
Yeah,
different
now
deal. I get it.
he'll go through what we came up with at our last all staff meeting,
Nice.
where we moved objectives and kind of reconfigured it in that way, and then so really I suppose we need to figure out when he's going to come, and then the Carson City, our calendar has to get done. And so this, I don't, and maybe you guys can provide some guidance here. I'm not sure. I feel like we did that last year in January, but now I'm doubting myself.
Yeah, I'd have to look back at the
Okay.
documentation. My concern around the calendar is that when we stayed open for Juneteenth,
Mhm.
we had a conversation around, okay, next year we need to talk about holidays
Mhm.
and whether we're going to use those as opportunities for enhanced programming instead of closing, because we want to be more accessible to community members who maybe they have the day off and maybe they'd like to come to the library with that time and can't because the library's closed. So I think maybe we can give you some preliminary input if you want to come in January's meeting
Yeah.
with
A draft.
whatever we have to share,
Mhm.
and we can hopefully finalize it in January. As far as New Year's, right? That would be the one. New
Yeah.
Year's and
Martin Luther King. Those are city holidays.
Yeah.
So
Also was
we're
Juneteenth.
sort of lucky there because we're not taking any, we haven't historically done any closures that were unique to us.
Mhm.
So the city calendar is what it is. We
Mhm.
always align with that, and then do have our additional stuff.
Right. And
So-
I don't think we aligned on Juneteenth, though. I think that was the issue.
We did not, and we
So
also discussed. Well, how about I just come up with a draft based on what I remember of us discussing about holidays, and then we can see.
I'm sure it's in the minutes, but I think we wanted to put off the conversation.
We
till
did.
time to review a calendar, and
Yeah.
being that that's not in front of us right now. if we have just general guidance for Director Holt.
I guess I'm trying to remember the discussion because, okay, so I think what you just said is that generally the calendar aligns with the city calendar and you close for the holidays that the city employees observe.
Yeah.
So is that like a requirement or is that just what we've done because it's traditionally what we've done?
It's
Because-
not a requirement.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like, there's really no discussion to be had if that's how it has to be, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
we were talking maybe about staying open for some of the, I don't wanna say smaller or less important, but less, I know. The holidays that aren't as broadly observed, I
Like
guess.
not
I mean, it's
Christmas
not
and
like we would stay
Thanksgiving.
open
Not
on
tied to
Christmas
a
or
religion?
Thanksgiving or, yeah.
Right. Well, and the
Because we're
thing,
thinking people might have some interest in getting out and doing some programming aligned with those holidays, but
right.
that
and
would be
all-
breaking with the city calendar then, correct? That's what we're saying.
Yes, for for those holidays.
So we're trying to
Um,
decide if that's worth it,
right.
right?
Because we were initially the question had to do around an immediate need with Juneteenth if we're going to close the library, right? Because
Mhm.
we had already approved this calendar that didn't include Juneteenth.
Mhm.
And ultimately it was, well, the city's going to close, but the library's going to stay open, and we're going to try to do at least some of our displays that were in respect for Juneteenth to try to maybe help spread the word. It is kind of a newer holiday.
Well, and I need to
Observed.
figure out how that will affect the budget because it will.
Right.
Right.
So-
I mean,
Kinda-
you still need just staff development days, so those are what they are.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the only real
And-
change would be if we open on some holidays we weren't before.
Right.
Right. to staff
And
them in a
also
title.
not take, sorry to interrupt you, not take such a long, not take a 4-day weekend for Nevada Day. Because we've always done, or 3-day weekend, we've always taken like Friday, if it falls on I think it's always a Friday that the city takes off. And then Saturday, we would close Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday
So,
probably because of the parade.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but Sunday we could certainly be
Still
open. And our users really like that we're open on Sunday. I just worked last Sunday, and
Yeah.
every Sunday I've worked, which was I had to work. I've worked every Sunday this month except for one day because of just scheduling, and literally every single Sunday I work, someone says thank you for being open. So
And so that's, I mean, I think on the one hand, we're probably missing an opportunity for events, for programming, for all the things, for probably any holiday, really. But more so those holidays that are kind of either civic minded or supposed to be honoring a certain person, President's Day or Martin Luther King, those kinds of things. And on the other hand, you don't really have a whole staff right now to to enhance your work you're already doing.
that's true, but
Um,
we're talking about a calendar for the whole year.
That's true.
So-
you could have
I mean, when I
Filled.
had littler kids, the days that they were home from school were definitely days that I was looking for something to do with them.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
a real thing.
yeah.
We did have a really robust conversation about, by closing, not only are we missing an opportunity to like help educate, but to me, we're also kind of saying, yeah, we're all taking that day off. Like you just,
We're kicking off for government workers.
yeah, we're
and
not
more
really
cush.
acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and it's sort of,
especially-
we could celebrate the reason that there's a holiday to begin with at the library.
Right, that's what, yeah.
Yeah, like
Especially
Veterans
with
Day.
such a new holiday, it would be kind of nice to be, I don't know, one of the leading places where you can go and learn about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And why we're celebrating June.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess my other question though too would be, and you just need to work it into the budget if you've got to pay staff hours, if you have anywhere in an agreement. I don't know what's in the agreement for city employees if they get holiday pay or over. Yeah, so it's not just regular staff.
Yeah.
We're paying premium time.
Yeah.
For that, which is.
But we can
I
have
mean,
a skeleton crew on that day.
And I think I personally lean toward it being a worthwhile investment if it's something that you can build out and make reliable over the years. The moms with the kids, the whoever, to go to the library is a reliable place to go do. And then you look forward to every year to go do whatever it is,
Well,
might
here's the
be
thing: if
nice.
it ends up being a total flop,
Mhm.
we can
Retool.
change it in following years.
I feel like we are still under budget for staffing and whatnot. I mean, it doesn't mean it will always be the case, but we probably do have it available this year
Oh, definitely.
or this
Yeah.
coming year.
I mean, if you look at our budget for, I
we
mean,
can see so that salary's in
we're
it.
halfway through the fiscal year and we've spent 24% of our budget total. So,
Yeah. So that's
and that's a
mean,
big
for
reason for
consideration.
that
I
is
would guess if
salary.
it's successful too, then it would justify extra budgeting
Yeah.
if it,
Yeah.
in the future if needed.
I guess though too that does put additional strain on you to decide when you come back to us with the draft calendar, which holidays get to be the one
Yeah.
the ones. But I think if you have a reasonable justification,
Well,
it
I
would
think
be
I feel like I have a sense of what we're getting at too.
yeah.
So,
And it would be difficult, I think, to try to even pull out a crystal ball and say, "Oh, here's who's going to show up and how many people," and what do you know.
Yeah.
So, and in some ways, it's a swag either way. So, I think we hired you because we trust your judgment. So,
Thank
if you
you.
come back with us next month, we'll
well, and I will definitely make sure going forward that I have this ready to launch before
Well, and
before
I
the
know, I
start of
think
the
we
new year.
I know. I feel like maybe I can't speak to past Julie, but maybe past Julie might have flagged this if we had done our usual agenda review thing instead of being rushed because it was Thanksgiving and the
Yeah.
extra, there was just a crunch this month. So I'll share some of that with you.
Okay.
I think that if we do decide to stay open a couple more holidays than we have in the past, we should definitely make a push to advertise it ahead of time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, because nobody's going to expect it.
Right.
Come to the library for whatever.
Well,
whatever
we'll
it is.
definitely, once the decision is made, then we can, our team can sit down and go, okay, so we've got to have some razzle dazzle on these days. So let's
Yeah.
start talking about that now.
And I would appreciate, if you can solicit some staff input as to what days they
Yeah.
think, what holidays they think they'd really like to highlight.
I'm thinking
and
kind
work.
of like the difference between the state office worker holidays and like the construction worker holidays.
Mhm.
Some people only get like 5 a year, and other people,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, right.
Those ones
Yeah.
are probably the ones we still want to close.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually.
Yep.
I'll just ask my fiance, hey, when you, before you retired, what days did you guys get off?
Right.
Or what holidays were like, if you came to work, you made gobs of money because of all of the, perks you get for working on a holiday. That's a good idea. That's a good
Yeah, 'cause
barometer,
like,
actually.
I've had,
Yeah.
because I've mostly done office work, had most holidays, but I feel like a huge demographic doesn't ever take Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Veterans Day,
Mhm.
any of those.
Labor
Those are
Day,
not,
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
4th of July,
Christmas.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's,
Yep.
and maybe more Memorial Day and Labor Day, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Labor Day's a
Depends.
little bit,
It's
that's a
touchy
tricky
on
one,
that
right?
one,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah. So you had preliminary thoughts. You've got a flavor of what kind of.
Yeah. That's a really
we're
good,
looking at.
that's a really good place to start, actually, is to think about what
what the legal-
non-governmental
Non-office
and
workers take.
Yeah.
And I guess too, if you think about it, those holidays are holidays that have a meaning that we could like really,
celebrate.
but yeah,
Yeah.
like
You can
like
build up and
do some
make it-
education on and whatnot.
Yeah, like why do we celebrate Veterans Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that 11-11-11 come to be and all of that,
Yeah. And you can make that pretty robust, I think.
Yeah,
So that's,
I like it. And again, it's we're just trying these things out and,
you never know.
we don't know till we try. So,
I think it's good. Okay.
oh, and we need to talk about, and I'm not sure the best way to do this procedurally, but we need to establish our January meeting day. The fourth Thursday, we've always had the fourth Thursday,
Yeah.
and that's the 26th of January, but we need to, I think, put
Well,
that,
and I think
make that rock solid.
is that.
No, we just don't have the calendar.
Oh,
book,
okay. We
so-
just don't have the calendar.
Yeah.
Is this says like, is our room busy or?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you, trustees, my selfish self would like to not have the fourth Thursday in October if we can move that one because it's always Bonanza and I always
yeah,
miss it and I have a
excellent.
little one and
I would also, and we
just
can
don't wanna
talk about
park.
this more.
You
I
don't
would
wanna
like,
park?
yeah, I mean, it is, I did
Okay.
try to warn you guys, though. I
You d-
sent everyone an email.
yes. Yes.
I would, and we can discuss this further, but just a heads up, one of the things I would like to do is move our meeting in February because I have to be out of town the fourth Thursday.
Okay.
So,
So,
but if we can't do that,
You
I can
can-
zoom in.
so you can put all the, your proposed everything on the calendar for the draft for the meeting in January, which should be, if we followed the fourth Thursday, well, that puts us at the 26th.
Hmm.
Oops. I was still putting Homestead Silver Sandal Ranch in my calendar here. Okay. Is the 26th still workable for everyone else? And you decide what you decide about Martin Luther King Jr. Day, because that is before the 26th. And we'll just roll with it.
I think probably the best approach to that is to just have it align with the city.
'Cause it's predictable on staff and you don't have that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Are we still good with Thursdays? I don't think I have any.
Yeah,
Would
I don't know
Wednesdays
that moving
be
it too,
better?
like, it can be an
Would-
issue for scheduling, right, for rooms and stuff, because we've always traditionally had the same, I don't know.
Oh, I've got this room booked out for the next year and a half.
Okay.
So we're on the fourth
Yeah, I
Thursday of
think it
every
works.
month.
Mhm.
I mean, it's easy enough to change, but we've got the availability because I booked it out. But we also do have to put it in writing.
Okay. Then I think we can shoot for the 26th, 5:30, for January's meeting. That's the only thing we really have to discuss for now, and then we'll approve the rest of the calendar when we see it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna write it in my thing right now. Library board. Okay. And is that the end of your report for
Yeah.
director's report? Okay. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? I don't think so.
I just want to say,
Yes, Trustee Nichols.
Nichols, for the record, I just want to say that I am really enjoying the funny Facebook posts. I don't know who's doing that, but it's cracking me up.
It's James.
and James is,
Wernick, and
so just let James know it's really appreciated. I mean, it was
yes,
Yeah.
they're
All of them, but-
hysterical,
I
right?
mostly see the Lego club with their fun.
I think they're so funny, and
though, that are just, that are just so cute, and you're just laughing, and then I share them, and my friends laugh, and then
yeah,
yeah,
I think
it's hilarious.
it's so funny that you even mentioned that tonight, because just this morning I complimented him on the latest Lego Club because I think they're so funny, and he's just clever, and I said I think we have the same sense of humor, James, because I totally get all of I get all your inferences, and they make me laugh. So that will delight him. That will really be a good boost for him to hear that feedback. So thank you.
What are the ones that were sticking in my head?
Okay. Well, with that, we'll move on to agenda item 5, information only. This is our announcements, requests for informations. I think this might be the place where we remind everybody of the next meeting date.
Oh.
So we just did that too. And that's good. Do we have any announcements or requests for information? Anything you want to see on a next agenda outside of what's already been discussed? Okay, cool. I like when we can keep our meetings about an hour. This is very, very nice. All right, let's move on to public comment. I don't see public in the room. If any member of the public would like to address us, feel free. How about on the phone?
There are no callers online.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, let's move on to adjournment. We are adjourned, everybody. Drive safe.
Okay.